This is SXM Daily News for December 15th, 2025. The House of Parliament will sit in a public meeting on December 15th, 2025. MP Lacroze directed to the Prime Minister of General Affairs, Dr. Luc Mercelina, regarding Sint Maarten National Strategy for Fuel Diversification, LNG Transition, Public Utilities, and the implementation of community benefits.
Madam Chair Lady, the question hour came about based on our motion that passed in Parliament concerning LNG and what the government has actually done until now, because in the motion we should have received some type of feedback by the 15th of October, which did not happen, and prompt these questions forth and seeking clarification from the Prime Minister to find out what actually has been done, what and where are we going with the harbour, GEBE, and the national plan from the government itself. Madam Chair Lady, I will not go over all the questions because it makes no sense. The Minister himself will have to read them over. So looking forward to the answers from the Prime Minister on these questions.
Coming to giving answer to the first question, the government has asked both companies for their views on fuel diversification to inform the government's decision-making on this matter. From the side of the Port of St. Maarten Group, the Port of St. Maarten Group informed the government that it functions primarily as a facilitator and service provider to cruise and cargo vessels. Fueling services in the port are executed by third-party companies such as Nestor and Sol. Any diversification in fuel usage will depend on the demands from carriers and will be facilitated by the applicable service providers in consultation with the Port St. Maarten Group. Nonetheless, the Port St. Maarten Group is actively engaged in discussions with cruise lines and third-party stakeholders, taking into account environmental, social, and governance priorities, as well as the cruise industry's commitments to achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. From the Port St. Maarten Group perspective, diversification efforts include, but are not limited to, electrification of the port operations, expansion of solar and wind energy, implementation of waste-to-energy initiatives, collaboration on future alternative bunkering options, transition from HFO to MFO, LNG, and other emerging fuels. From the side of NVGB referred to the Least Cost Power Development Plan, the LCPDP, prepared by Energy Nautics, contains relevant analysis on fuel options for power generation. The study highlights that diesel generation operating on heavy fuel provide cost advantage and reduce consumption compared to the LFO. While the current diesel generators are technically capable of operating on natural gas, a transition to LNG was not evaluated as viable due to the significant capital investment required, particularly for infrastructure and LNG regasification facilities. A separate comprehensive feasibility study would be required to properly assess LNG as an option. The study also found that small-scale LNG would be less efficient and more costly under existing assumptions. Question 2, what concrete step has the government taken to ensure that LNG and other alternative energy sources are integrated into St. Maarten's long-term energy strategy? The answer is the government is taking steps to ensure that NVGB complies with the electricity concession, which is issued for a period of 25 years since July 16, 2010. The concession agreement outlines several obligations and required actions. Currently, the majority of these actions are not yet being implemented, such as multi-annual plan on operations and investments, targets for renewables, and publication of quality measurements. As a step towards the required multi-annual plan, government has requested a high-level overview of long-term maintenance with the impact on security of supply through a formal letter dated June 17, 2025. To meet the renewable targets in the concession, NVGB has requested access to government land to realize their first solar project, which is under review by the Ministry of Romy. In reviewing any proposals from MVGB or third parties on alternative energy sources, the government will be guided by expert advice. The Trust Fund financed a study as presented by Energynautics to the Council of Ministers in December 2024 highlighted that the transition to LNG was not considered due to the substantial additional capital costs involved. These costs encompass investment in LNG storage tanks, port upgrades, transportation infrastructure, and LNG regasification plants. The volatile nature of natural gas and LNG export prices from the U.S. introduces significant uncertainty into cost projections, making it challenging to gauge the economic viability of LNG. In contrast, renewables, especially solar panels, emerge from the Trust Fund finance study as a more attractive and predictable long-term investment option than LNG, offering lower levelized costs of electricity. Question 3, has the fuel and transport process proposal regarding new income-generating and cost-cutting measures for harbor operations and the GEB power plant been tendered, and what were the findings? The answer is no such tender has been put out as the focus of government on grid stabilization and consistent provision of electricity. That has been actually the focus of government in the past period. What is the next question? Question 4, what progress has been made towards adopting a policy that allows cruise ships docking in the harbor to use local fuel and electrical power? The answer is, after last year's energy crisis, the focus of government is to secure a stable electricity supply for the people and business of St. Martin. A significant investment is being made to procure new generating capacity. The additional capacity that is being procured with the capital loan from the Netherlands should suffice to ensure that the people and business of St. Martin have access to a stable electricity supply in the next 5 to 10 years, with additional investment by GEBE and consumers in solar panel. An expansion of that capacity to allow one or multiple small, medium, or large cruise ships to use local generation capacity can only be considered after the electricity supply for our people and business is secured. Question 5. Is a feasibility study being initiated or completed regarding LNG to ships that have already transitioned to LNG usage? If yes, what are the initial results? The answer is no such a feasibility study has yet been initiated. Question 6. Did the board of GEBE meet October 15, 2025 deadline for exploring technical and financial feasibility of transitioning from heavy fuel to LNG for local power generations? The shareholder has imposed a deadline for NVGEB to explore the feasibility of transitioning from heavy fuels to LNG for local power generation. The current focus of the shareholder and NVGB is to stabilize the electricity supply to the people and businesses of St. Martin, while the Energynautics least cost power development plan found that small-scale LNG, the SSLNG, would be less efficient and more costly under existing assumptions. NVGEB may at a later time explore the technical and financial feasibility of a transition to LNG further.
The St. Martin Police Force's special team conducted a series of high-impact operations between Monday, December 8th and Sunday, December 14th, 2025, focusing on arrests, house searches, preventive frisking, and targeted surveillance in key hotspots across the island. Key operations and results. December 9th, 2025. A drug bust took place in the Middle Region, where a suspect was arrested for violating the opium law. A large quantity of opium was found hidden in the suspect's vehicle, leading to a house search that uncovered USD 12,750, EUR 730 handgun with a loaded magazine and bullets. Additional empty magazines with 5 more rounds were also found. Handcuffs, a bulletproof vest, and footwear likely used in a robbery. The prosecutor's office, St. Martin, SXM, and the defense of suspect TJR reached procedural agreements, Prozessafsprachen, regarding the handling of the Togo 24 investigation, which concerned a fatal shooting in K Bay on September 18, 2024. During this incident, multiple automatic firearms were used, and one person, FH, was killed when shots were exchanged between two groups, endangering nearby residents and bystanders. Investigations determined that FH was not shot by the suspect, but by gunfire from the opposing, still unidentified group. Following discussions, both parties agreed to pursue a procedural agreement to ensure an efficient and timely handling of the case.
Social and health insurances. Your social and health insurances.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
Your social and health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
Great Bay, St. Martin, DCOM. The Inspectorate of Economic and Transport Affairs, IETA, has reported a substantial rise in public transport enforcement from June to December 2025, resulting in more than ANG 30,200 in fines across the transportation sector. The increase in enforcement activity coincides with strengthened operational capacity within the Inspectorate, leading to more frequent roadside controls, improved coverage, and enhanced monitoring of public transport operators. September and November recorded the highest enforcement totals, each exceeding ANG 7,900. During this period, inspectors identified several recurring violations, including operating passenger transport without the required permit, failure to comply with vehicle inspection, curing requirements. Through a coordinated effort with the Minister of Tourism, the St. Martin Tourism Bureau, and the Rise Foundation, the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association donated over 200 holiday gifts, bringing joy to the students of the St. Joseph School.
Congratulations to you, St. Joseph School, for being chosen this year. Your students truly represents the bright future of St. Martin. And to all the precious boys and girls of St. Joseph School from pre-kindergarten. From kindergarten to 6th grade, Christmas is a time of joy. Just remember this, the time of joy, the time of kindness, the time of sharing, a time of believing in big dreams. Always remember each of you is special. You're loved and full of purpose. So keep being kind to one another. Listen to your teachers and parents and never stop believing in yourselves. So on behalf of the government of St. Martin and the Ministry of TIAC, I wish you all a Merry Christmas filled with love, laughter, and blessings. Caesar's greetings, everyone. We're here at the St. Joseph School at the annual FCCA gift-giving ceremony. St. Joseph School was chosen this year to give about over 180 gifts. We do this every year, and it's great to have partnership like this with FCCA, Rise Foundation, and the Tourism Bureau. The kids are happy, as you can see. They're all lining up, going over to get their gifts by Santa. It's amazing to see. It's amazing to be part of FCCA. Thank you on behalf of St. Martin.
Today we had a lovely celebration. initiated by the FCCA. St. Martin has been a long-standing partner, and this year we're so thrilled that Allure of the Seas, another partner, and a local foundation such as Wise Foundation came together, to provide lovely gifts to over 200 students from Group 1 to Group A. So this has been an initiative that has been going on for several years, and the Destination St. Martin is very pleased to be part of this lovely initiative. I just want to take this time out to wish everyone at home, watching at home, a very blessed Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Hi, St. Martin. My name is Sheldon Rodrigues. I'm the manager of hotel operations. Come on board from the Allure of the Seas, from Royal Caribbean, and we are so happy to be a part of the gift-giving process with FCCA out here in St. Martin. Thank you very much at St. Joseph's School.
Today we're here together with the partnership with the FCCA and also with the Ministry of TIAT to come and bring smiles on some kids' faces. So we partnered, this is the first year as Rise Foundation that we've partnered together with government to execute this project and just to bring smiles to the kids' faces. So we're really excited about this project. As you can hear, the noise in the background is an exciting time, and we just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody and have a wonderful New Year when it comes. Thank you.
On behalf of the St. Joseph's School, I want to take this opportunity to thank the St. Martin Tourism Bureau and the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association for organizing such a wonderful program, gift sharing program for our students. We are grateful. Thank you for sharing the Christmas joy with us.
The reporters ask Minister Patrice Gums about the months ago, you outlined the traffic study. Some of the measures in the traffic study, which of those measures have you implemented to alleviate the current traffic? That's a follow-up to this question. My question actually is, what is the status of the complaint filed by Charlotte Pompier against your Secretary General? What exactly was done? What I noticed happened over the last 4 months is that Pompier has been suspended. But what happened to the complaint he filed? And if you can also tell me in the same breath, Minister, you announced that there was going to be a cemetery in the Belvedere area. Have you consulted the residents there on the implementation of a cemetery in their vicinity?
So the first question was the low-hanging fruit. What did we do with the consultations? We very limited certain number of left turns and stops and, traffic entrances, particularly if you look at what happened on Canagita Street. One phase of it, because several phase projects. The first phase was making that a one-way to sort of stop that bottlenecking that happens by form of Lawn and Sons. What we've noticed now is that, of course, we have to improve as well going into phase 2, Manzanilla as an access road, because what you've noticed sometimes is the traffic has now bottlenecked somewhere else. There's a more comprehensive plan as well. The second thing is the left turns. With the signage that we're going to have ordered coming in, you're going to limit all the left turns or that actually create the traffic bottlenecks, particularly in Simpson Bay, particularly on Pondfield Road. Your second question regarding the complaint of Mr. Charlene Pompier. So indeed, this was a complaint lodged by the named person against the SG, and of course there was that the procedure took place with the help of P&O, so Human Resources of Government, that led then to the suspension of Mr. Pompier. Further than that, there's an ongoing investigation, so more information I cannot give you, but of course the complaint that he lodged about the Secretary General once investigated, led to that suspension. So in investigating what happened, that was the result, and then the investigation persists and continues now. Of course, I can't say very much besides that. Of course, it's ongoing investigation, and of course, as much as I can say, we'll continue to say as it continues. And then your third question revolved around
Belvedere and the cemetery.
So Belvedere, let me just clarify. The Belvedere is a very large area. The cemetery itself is not going into the current Belvedere development, which is going to the adjacent property. So there's a distinction between Belvedere, the housing project currently exists, and what's known as Belvedere remainder. So the piece essentially from the Rockland Wall estate back to Oyster Pond Road, that's where the cemetery is going to go. In terms of public consultation, of course, that's going to happen. The reality is that the neighborhood itself is not going to be impacted by the cemetery. It's going to be an adjacent property to that. But in the whole development of the master plan, that's going to be part and parcel of the public consultation on that will look like for everybody in that area as well. Why? Because in purchasing the property, there are very strict guidelines that we're going to adhere to in terms of zoning, in terms of community, in terms of green space. So I think getting that community buy-in is really important. So I thank you for that question, because I think it's important to have that recognized, that we're not just going in and bulldozing anything and putting somebody next to a cemetery. It's really going to be well thought out and have public engagement to make it happen.
Were the guidelines put in place by the developer, the people selling the land, the Plants family, or is that government's guidelines?
So it's two things. It's actually both. One, from the point of our national housing policy, which has been finalized, identifying really and truly how you need to look at public housing going forward. Everything from the quality of the construction, the material that should be used, but also to how you do community development. And of course, the developer, the seller as well, requested certain more stipulations to maintain the sort of harmonious nature of the area as well. Given the fact that if we observe what has happened oftentimes with many government housing projects, that sort of community element and maintenance has not been observed.
News from Willemstad. A tanker carrying Russian naphtha, destined for Venezuela's state oil company PDVSA, along with at least 4 supertankers scheduled to load Venezuelan crude, abruptly changed course in recent days, underscoring the growing impact of U.S. enforcement actions in the Caribbean. Ship tracking data reviewed by the news agency show that the vessels made a full reversal after the United States seized a tanker carrying Venezuelan oil last week. The move has sent a clear signal to shipping companies and traders operating in the region, raising concerns about the risks of transporting oil linked to Venezuela amid tightening U.S. sanctions. The tanker carrying Russian naphtha was reportedly en route to supply PDVSA, which relies on imported diluents to blend its heavy crude for export. The sudden turnaround suggests heightened caution among ship owners and charterers who appear unwilling to risk potential interception, sanctions, or asset seizure by U.S. authorities. In addition to the naphtha shipment, at least 4 supertankers that had been programmed to load crude oil at Venezuelan ports also altered their routes, effectively suspending planned operations. Analysts note that such last-minute changes are unusual and point to growing uncertainty in maritime trade linked to Venezuela.
Are you SZV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SZV is cardless. Request your My SZV account today and enter the virtual office of SZV. Go to szv.sx and sign up now.
SZV, yeah, your social health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
In a historical first, during the formation of any Dutch government, the Honourable Prime Minister of Sint Maarten, Dr. Luc Mercelina, has formally engaged Mr. Rob Arnoldus Adrianus Jetten, the presumptive incoming Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, to ensure that the concerns and priorities of Sint Maarten are included at the earliest stage of the Dutch cabinet formation process. This unprecedented engagement marks a significant diplomatic milestone within the Kingdom of the Netherlands and reflects Prime Minister Mercelina's proactive approach to safeguarding the interests of the Caribbean part of the kingdom during a critical political transition in the Netherlands. More on DCOM Special Climate Symposium 2025 with Ms. Angelique Gums, Office of Disaster Management.
Green is, of course, normal, niks aan de hand, as we say in Dutch. Yellow is early vigilance. Orange, significant vigilance. Red, extreme vigilance. And the two extras that have been added for Dutch Sint Maarten that are not in the French system is purple and blue. Purple and blue have been added in the event of a tsunami. And I must also mention, the Netherlands has also made an envelope available to us to now get a tsunami plan in place. So, also based on that. So if you are doing warning and you have a siren system, for example, and you have not told your people what to do, where to go, your siren system doesn't serve the purpose. You have to have those governance structures and frameworks in place. Go to my next slide. So another thing that we developed is standardized messaging. I just did the English and Dutch here. Standardized messaging that basically will be sent to you as a warning. Ms. Eliza Jones will speak after me, and she will go further into the details of cell broadcast. However, standardized messaging gives the same message every time. DCOM is also in the room. See Maurice here. We are fresh off of the heels of the Kingdom Crisis Week in Curacao, where we were constantly reminded that communication is basically key in the event of a disaster. So we were more than happy to let them know that we have now standard messages. We have them in different languages as well, and we have them per hazard. So we have standard messages now for hurricane, flooding, tsunami, earthquake, and tropical cyclone. Those are the 5 hazards that we have standardized messaging for. It does not mean that we cannot give other messages or other details. However, these are the standard messages that you will be seeing now, so you will also know what to do. And I will get to that later in my presentation. Ultimately, this is where we want to be. We have quite a bit in place already. This is multi-hazard early warning systems. So we now have the governance structures in place. We now have the SOPs in place, the protocols in place, and the messages in place. We have radio, television already. We have weather radar already. Cell broadcast, Eliza will elaborate on. So eventually, it is for us to basically check all these boxes. We are also now currently looking into the membership of the WMO. Currently, that membership is through Curacao, but of course, we want to get our own membership. And sirens is in the planning for the future. because it is multi-hazard early warning. We do have another more imminent manner in warning, which is speaker car for the moment. And now we get to the coup de grace. So you would notice that the ladies brought these two banners to the front, because in developing all of this, we thought, but hey, we should have some sort of branding for disaster management. And of course, it would be amiss not to use one of our own local national birds, and this is Marty, the brown pelican. That is now our mascot and a logo for everything disaster management and early warning systems. So once you see Marty, you will know that it is authentic and not fake news, as we learned in Curacao, and that it actually comes from the Office of Disaster Management. So we have several of these short videos. We have voice for radio. Marty's voice is the same everywhere. We will also be getting a mascot. The intention is to take the mascot into the schools so that we can teach there basically on how to be prepared. And for every hazard, the 5 that I listed, we also have the visuals to go along with the 5. So you will be seeing it on social media, and then you will also hear it on the radio. It tells you what to do in preparedness. It tells you what to do in preparedness for tsunami. It tells you what to do in preparedness of a earthquake, cyclone, those types of things. It gives you that standard message. Ultimately, we will be going to the signage as well. We did the mapping. However, we're waiting on additional layer of the mapping for the posting. And then we will be going into signage as well in the next round of projects.
This is SXM Daily News for December 15th, 2025.